Now, a week ago, the White House Correspondents Association held their annual dinner in Washington, but the president didn't attend, nor did my daughter, the White House press secretary, not after she was ambushed last year by a bitter, angry, and vicious headliner who was actually billed as a comedian. In fact, she passed up the opportunity to get skewered by a so-called comedian standing 5 feet from her, and instead she went with the president to Wisconsin, where instead of being insulted about her appearance and her character, she was treated to rock star status by an overflow crowd that numbered well above 10,000. Back in Washington, the media types sat solemnly to whine about how unfair they have been treated and how the First Amendment was at risk. Well, I want to give a heartfelt message to them. You media folks hate it when the president calls you fake news or even calls out some of you as enemies of the people. But you all but break your arms patting yourselves on the back for your commitment to truth, journalism, and the First Amendment. Now, not all of the media are enemies of the people, and the president has never said all of you were. But to be blunt, some of you are. Because when you allow your personal biases and animosity toward the president to shape your coverage of his events, his policies, his remarks, and his personal life in a vastly different way than the manner in which you report on other public figures, then you're no longer champions of the truth or of the First Amendment. You're just partisan hacks out to unfairly smear a president that you don't like and that you never thought would get elected anyway. You know what? We desperately need a strong press and a strict adherence to finding the truth wherever it may lead. Our great republic can't survive if the press puts its thumb on the scale for a particular candidate or a political party. The noble responsibility of the press is to fairly and accurately report facts, then let the public determine how it's going to respond to those facts. When I watch or listen to or read someone's reporting, and I know exactly the point of view of the journalist, it's not journalism anymore. It's just the same kind of advocacy I would expect from the Republican or the Democratic parties. So when you guys in the media whine about how bad you've been treated, forgive millions of us for laughing out loud, because you've put your hurt feelings out front and cried like 6-year-olds because someone, and it's usually the president, called you out. Oh, we do, by the way, know the difference between news and commentary, and we respect that commentary can and even should be highly opinionated. But even then, it ought to be fair and based on accurate facts. We just don't see much of that. Over 90% of the coverage about President Trump is negative. I'll be the first to admit, he's far from perfect. And sometimes he can be his own worst enemy with some off-color or off-the-cuff comments, or even his obvious exaggeration and hyperbole. I get that. But misreporting and the overuse of anonymous, high-level sources who don't have the guts to speak on the record, even if they exist, using them destroys your credibility. And frankly, it shreds the Constitution's protection of a free press. Because it isn't free if it isn't fair. And you might be blind to your own biases, but millions of us aren't. So if you want to get respect, you got to show some. And the level of disrespect you show toward the president, his staff, and his voters only result in being held in contempt by those of us who see the world differently than you. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of glad the president and the press secretary skipped your little party of self-congratulations, whining, and elitist pomposity. I mean, they were in a crowd of what you call deplorables. And they were being shown some appreciation of standing up for all those deplorables. And frankly, they were being shown appreciation for standing up against you. You can't fix this by becoming journalist again. Oh, I guess you could. But you have to do that instead of being ballpoint pen pimps, computer contract killers, and camera-ready cardboard cutouts with all too predictable, breathless anxiety about those with whom you disagree. You know what? We want to respect you. We actually need you. But if you refuse to act like professionals and you insult us with your pious put-downs, don't expect us to do anything other than hold you in contempt for their perpetual put-downs. Here's my message to you in the press. You broke this, and only you can fix it.